Efficient assemblies in general outlines several techniques that you can use to decrease rebuild time and other slowdowns that you might find in the course of modeling assemblies. One of the features in here is the layout sketch. The layout sketch was used to create the frame, the wheels, and to help lay out the fork, and also to get a general reference for where the ground is, which is an important factor in a bicycle design. So a layout sketch, or some people call that a skeleton sketch, is one very efficient tool that you can use. This sketch in particular is in the assembly document, although these sketches can also be in one of the part documents. Another thing that you'll find is that can help you design efficiently in an assembly is using subassemblies. There are various different ways of defining subassemblies. Some people define them by the various types of motion that you might have. Some people define them by the manufacturing process or how they are mated together most easily. For example, here you could have a hub that's an assembly of the axle and the cones and the bearings that go together to make the hub. And then the spokes would be another component in the wheel assembly, which would then include the tires, the tubes, the rim strip, the rim, the spokes, the nipples and things, and the hub subassembly. And then the fork assembly would include the fork, the mechanism for motion, any sort of spring, and in this case it would also include the handlebar subassembly, as well as the headset and various bearings and cones that go into allowing the handlebars to pivot on the frame. So that's one way of organizing the assembly. You might also think of some of these assemblies as being created for in-context design. And this symbol, this update symbol, is one of the ways that you know that you have some in-context features. You can right-click on it and list external references. You can figure out what two parts are on each side of the relationship, and the number of these that you see in your assembly can also indicate how long it's going to take the assembly to rebuild. These update features can be hidden or shown. They're usually hidden by default at the bottom of the tree. To show them, you can go to the top level, right-click, go to Hide Update Holders. Now that holder will go away, and to bring it back you do just the opposite. There are a lot of other techniques that you can use to make your assemblies more efficient. We've already talked about some of the evaluation tools under Tools, Evaluate, Performance Evaluation, and also some of the visualization tools such as Isolate. If you right-click on a single part in the assembly, you can say isolate that part and all the rest of the parts will be hidden. You can say exit isolate and all the rest of the parts will be shown. That helps when you want to work on individual parts within the assembly. You can also do this sort of thing with a subassembly, isolate and exit isolate. There's some other items in the right-click menu, which is something you really ought to explore. You can rename assemblies you can rename subassemblies in the context of an upper level assembly. You can make an assembly or a part document virtual, so that will save it within the assembly rather than having it saved as an external file. The opposite of this is also true. You can have a virtual assembly component and save it externally. You can do your configurations here, speed packs. You can insert new subassemblies, form a new subassembly from existing parts, or dissolve the components of a subassembly into the upper level assembly. You can also make an instance independent. So if you have two instances of a single part, you can save one out essentially as a copy while allowing it to remain in the assembly. There's a lot of tools in the right mouse button menus that you really need to take a look at, as well as all of the tools on the assembly tab in your command manager.